Go. All right, we are back, boys. Roast and Toast Baseball Radio, episode 8. I
Yes,
think it's
sir.
episode 8. Okay. So yeah, we have a lot to get to today. I don't know if we're gonna get to it all, but we're gonna try to. And let's hop right into it. So the first topic, I think it was right after we recorded or the day after
The
the
next morning.
the next morning the Shohei Ippei news came out. The report
More. Yeah.
that was 37 pages long, basically diving into exactly what happened. We're never going to know the full story, but this is probably as good as it's going to get for at least probably till the end of Shohei's career. So I'm going to ask you a pretty simple question, and that is, where are you guys at with the story now? Like, how do you feel about it?
I mean, personally, it's kind of sad in some ways for I know a few people that are, I mean, a lot of people that do sports betting and all that, but it seems like Ippei he's like a sports betting or gambling addict, and which is kind of sad because like you see a lot of people go down that path and it becomes really toxic and can really ruin people's lives, and you see it now where Ippei's probably going to go behind bars for a while or whatever is going to be the case. And it completely is going to ruin his life, really. And like you see, like there's like text exchange with his bookie over the course of like 2.5 years, basically, where he's like consistently asking him like if you can up his credit balance and all this stuff, and like $50,000 at a time. Like if you can up it to 50,000, 100,000, whatever, I'm good for it. Like because every time I'll pay you back, even though it's not his money. But yeah, and it goes a little deeper than that too. But it's kind of sad, but it's also like how can you betray like your best friend like that? It's crazy.
Hmm.
It's nuts, man. It's they allegedly stole $16 million from Shohei's bank account, which is just an absurd number, absurd amount. Like Connor mentioned, the texts that were exchanged were just constant, crazy, and please, I swear on my mom, it's the last time. It's just sad, like you say too. It's very sad. It's very scary and just all a mess. Yeah,
Yeah.
he said like multiple times, like I swear on my mom, it's the last time. Ask for a credit up. Yeah,
That is very sad.
Yeah, that sucks. Like, he has like a serious problem. So like you hope he actually gets the help he can so he doesn't fall through that same cycle again. But like, and I mean, I hope he never gets a chance to go through the same cycle again because nobody will ever have that opportunity to do
Yeah.
something like he did. Like, to be honest, he was putting up crazy numbers. Like
it
Crazy.
wasn't winning.
but
He was putting up numbers and just was not
Yeah.
winning.
right,
Yeah.
it was so bad. And I think funny enough that like everybody kind of knew Shohei didn't do it. Like even from the beginning, he was like, "Take my like somebody figure this out." Like I don't even know what's going on because like even if you look back before anything happened that night when everything came out, he was talking to him in the dugout
Hmm.
like pregame. So like I don't know if that was for show or what, but obviously he didn't know anything. So it's kind of better for the game now that we know. Okay, thank God Shohei Ohtani didn't do this because Lord forbid he did had some involvement in this. Holy shit, that would bring the
Yeah.
world baseball world would collapse for like a
Rob
week.
Manfred would have a decision to make if that. And
But
Shohei Ohtani is the biggest star in baseball, like worldwide. Like I know there's bigger stars in this country, but you talk about Japan, he's bigger than Elvis over there. Like he's the biggest star in Japan.
Hmm.
The fact that Rob Manfred would have to make a decision on that would be absurd. Obviously, he does it because Homeland Security basically like checked everything that Shohei has. No evidence of any gambling or wrongful gambling, whatever the case is. So, as far as I've seen, he's pretty clean. So,
I heard a clip too that Ippei would take Shohei's phone and turn his notifications off for his
yeah,
bank whenever
yeah.
he made a big transfer out of the money from Shohei's accounts. Just
This,
absolute
this got as
slimy moves.
sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. It's just crazy.
Yeah, this got as deep as I read a story that Ippei's bookie, Michael Boyer was in Newport Beach where Shohei lives, and he would constantly, like not constantly, but a few times he stalked like around Shohei's house and would basically like, I see him walking his dog right now. Like, do you want me to go up and ask him where my money is? Like stuff like that, like crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
it sounds like it's an
Jesus.
episode out of The Sopranos, honestly. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
he almost
Yeah,
does.
dead ass.
Shohei could have gotten beat up or
Yeah,
who
I
knows.
got Magoo.
But honestly, it sounds like you guys aren't really skeptical about it. It sounds like.
I just think once these reports came out more, it gave more fluidity on the full situation.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
play devil's advocate and just say he's been like they're just using Ippei as a scapegoat and all these text messages were manufactured.
Oh yeah, no, that's the thing. I saw that too, where it was like some of the verbiage in there too was like, this sounds like the most elaborate cover. Like one of the quotes was like, he can't get it. You didn't steal anything, steal anything, right, from him. He's like, you can't get in trouble. And he's like, well, technically I did. Like those even words sound
Yeah.
like
Like it's all
this.
super textbook incriminating shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that would be a massive cover up by the MLB and all hands involved. But like, you know, as big as it is, or as outlandish as it sounds, like it has to be in a, like an app, like a in the back of your head. Like this is
Hmm.
it's a possibility. Um,
Absolutely.
but as far as I know, like it seems like he's clean, and all his teammates came to his state, like his side, and basically like I've never seen him like do anything like that would make
Hmm.
me feel like he's got something going on. But then again, like he speaks another language, and he could be doing anything behind closed doors. So, I mean, I'm not saying anything, but I think as far as I know, he's clean.
Yeah, I'm with you guys there. Like, there is some sketchiness. I'm a little bit skeptical, but again, like, Ippei's not American. Shohei's not American. The Department of
Hmm.
Homeland Security was in on this investigation. This wasn't an investigation done by MLB where they
No.
would obviously
Exactly.
have reasons to let Shohei be fine because money, of course.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I feel like he's probably clean, and honestly, I kind of feel bad for him. He put all his trust in this one person,
Yeah.
For sure.
and
Yeah.
that's pretty dumb. Like,
Yeah.
I know he's your best friend and whatever, you're really close, but dude, like, very naive.
Financial literacy 101.
Yeah.
My
And
one, I have a question build off that to you guys. Obviously, California is not a state where gambling is legal, and
Yeah.
there's no obviously DraftKings or FanDuel. Like, I don't know if it ever would have gotten to this if he was on some type of sports book like DraftKings, because it's like I know about that backhand of how that all works with the customer service areas through there, and I can't see it ever getting to that point. So it also just shows that he could have also just been in the wrong spot, like
Yeah.
while this is going
Mhm.
down.
well, Ippei did it did come out. I mean I wrote it down, but he did have like various like gambling accounts like DraftKings, um,
Yeah.
FanDuel and all that. So like he was gambling on a different bunch of different levels, but the bigger bets were coming through this illegal bookie,
Hmm.
lawyer, and that's where like all these huge amounts of money were coming from. But like it got so deep. Like I read a story where eBay was calling the bank and like posing as Shohei, like
Yeah.
crazy stuff.
Yo.
He had all of the login information.
Yeah,
Like, it was
he
all through him.
Yeah.
switched
Like,
like the email of Shohei's bank account to his email, so he would get all like the updates and like
yeah.
transaction reports and all that. So it's really deep.
So it sounds like we're all pretty much on the same page. Like, as far as we know, for now, like, Shohei's clean.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the next topic. And this one is a little close to home, being a New Yorker.
New York sports
Um,
fans.
I'm not a Yankees fan, obviously, but I'm gonna miss John Sterling and his ridiculousness. So I'm kind of wondering how you guys feel about the abrupt retirement, like 13 games into the season.
It's very interesting. It's sad. There has to be more to the why he just felt the need to go out what he did. I know Will knew this, but I met John about 2 weeks ago, right before the season started. And
Damn.
It's
yeah, it
awesome.
was at a restaurant. It was sick. It was like right when we walked in, he was standing there taking, he was just, it shows the type of guy he was. Like I was told at some point he used to not be like this, but at when he older age, he just mellowed out a lot. And when we walked in the restaurant, he was recording a video for someone saying happy birthday to him. And
Yeah,
just like a
Oh, that's
flash was on
awesome.
their phone.
that's awesome.
And I walked up, we shook his hand, took a picture with him, and we were like, "You're a legend." And my mom was like, like generations have listened to you and grown up with you. Like, I don't know if you ever, I know you people sorry, I say this all the time, but like generations of fans are just listening to you. It's just crazy to think about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. That's an awesome story.
It almost
There,
reminds me of in 2009. I know it's not the same like the same story, but 2009 when Harry Callis passed away right before a Nationals game in DC.
mhm.
And like I remember the outpouring of support like the whole Phillies organization gave, and he it was a similar figure where Harry was around for 30 years plus, and just like
Rubber tree.
yeah, they used to call him like the sound of summer. Like that's if you go down to the shore or whatever, like that's the
Mm.
here all summer long is just Harry's voice, and it was really emotional for a lot of people, and it kind of reminded me of this story too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Tommy.
great.
I just always think of the John Sterling clip where the Yankees are in at the Red Sox. Oh my God, why can't I think at
What
Fenway?
the
And
wild card game.
Oh
yes, and
yeah.
like Giancarlo hits the ball to like left, and it's that ball is way out of here, and it just clanks off the wall.
Oh, it's not, Susan. That was the whole issues with because they were all still doing that on the monitors and not at the
Yeah.
stadium. And like
Yes.
some of these guys, especially like the older guys, just it's so different just watching those games after being involved so long. It just
Yeah.
made those clips even just outlandish.
Yeah.
It was like not even real, but it said that's just so funny. And like he's one of the goats of all time, one of the best like callers. So like one of the best game callers like ever. So
Hmm.
You just gotta hope
all
he's
respect.
okay with him and his family.
Absolutely.
It is abrupt, so it is, it is kind of worrisome, but I hope everything's good with like all that. And it's just like he just had to step away or whatever. But it's gonna be tough for especially Yankees fans.
Yeah.
He's a legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing with when an announcer steps aside or dies. It's like it's almost like you lose a member of your family because you probably listen to their voice more than certain members of your
Oh my
family.
gosh,
It's
yeah.
Yeah, definitely every night. Yeah,
crazy to think about, but like I don't know, I probably heard Howie Rose and Gary Cohen more than my grandpa's voice. Like it's
Yeah.
It's
pretty absurd.
wild to think about.
Yeah, and like thinking about that, it's like they're literally a part of your daily
yeah.
life at certain parts of the year. So
Well, it's like all the people that would just they had the late night commutes. They listened to WFAN on the radio back home. It's just like how many years of that? Just how many years of
Whole
just not
life,
even
basically. Yeah,
people would listen to game like they'd throw the radio in their house and throw the Yankees
yeah,
game on instead. Like they want to hear John. And it's like
yeah.
that's why I think people are just so like sad, especially the fact that like it's there's no more. Like
Yeah.
out of right now. Like
yeah,
And it's baseball. It's 162. Like you're playing 162 games, so you're hearing these guys a lot more often than you would any other sport.
right.
And
Mm.
for
yeah.
throughout the whole summer when like kids are off school, so you have the opportunity. Like I'm just gonna stay up and listen to if there's like a West Coast game, whatever. So yeah, it is. You make a good point about it being like a family affair. It is really like it.
And John had a stretch where he had 5,000 consecutive games called to the Yankees. That's 30
That's
plus
fucking
years.
wild.
That's 30 plus years of at once.
Consecutive?
You said 5,000.
5,000.
Dude, that's fucking wild to think about.
He missed his first games.
Wow.
Also crazy because in 2019 or yeah, 2019, his triplets graduated from high school,
Mm,
which is also crazy that he had triplets that were graduating high school when he was 80 years old. Other
yeah.
side of the story.
Nuts.
But
Do you guys have a favorite John Sterling call by chance?
I used to I
I
used
wish.
to love when I first started listening to baseball, I used to always just listening to John and just hearing that '09 team, just
Yeah,
those
Oh,
Guardy Go Yardy text
yeah.
message, a bomb from A-Rod, just those little simple things were just so just John, so
Yeah.
Yankees.
I think my favorite Sterling call is when I first heard it, I could not stop laughing. It's just
I think I know what you're gonna say.
so over the top, so corny. Like um John Carlos Stanton's first homer for the Yankees. Like, he's I think he was in Toronto, and John Sterling's like Giancarlo, non si può sto parlo.
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
with my dad, like, what
Uh,
is this? Like, this is horrible, but I love it.
Yeah,
It's a classic.
it's a classic.
If you
He has
guys
three of those one-liners just saved up and ready to go.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh, it's awesome. It's crazy how he was consistently just off the rip, just those. And it
yeah.
was like he would nail the if you guys heard his last call, it was also a Giancarlo Stanton home run call, and it was so just pure and just so great and just
I know I didn't listen to like a lot of full games, but it always seemed like he knew when to let the game breathe a little bit, like
hmm
step away
Mm,
from the mic and just like listen to the sounds of baseball, which is something that I know now like a lot of like TV announcers don't really do a lot, where it's just like maybe, it doesn't hurt, at least especially for me and all of us being like big baseball fans. Like I appreciate those times of silence when you just hear like the fans talking and just the ball hitting the mitt. It's something that like some like the radio announcers you're really good at just since they are on the radio and you can't see it, but
hmm
something he
yeah,
did really well, I think.
especially after home runs. I love the fact that like you don't keep going guys like it's like it's a walk off and like guys are yelling the entire time guys are on the bases. It's like no, let the crowd breathe. Let the crowd have a chance to breathe and do that. So John, absolute legend.
Yeah, tips off. Hats off to
Hats off.
for sure.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm saying. Next topic we have here is Andrew McCutchen. So Kutch just hit his 300th home run in Philly.
Hmm.
Um, I think that opens a big discussion about Andrew McCutchen, and that is the fact of his Hall of Fame case. So where are you guys at with his Hall of Fame case right now?
Hits, average, WAR. What are they first?
Hits the 2000 I have 2057. His average 275. I don't know his WAR, but I have those off the
His
rep.
all-time WAR. I'm right on it here. The
So
baseball.
2,500 ish hits.
Wait, I can't even find his WAR.
2050.
2050, yeah.
That's
His
2050.
baseball reference war is 48 and a half.
Hmm.
Damn.
Oh, it's at the top. I missed it.
I don't know what his Fangraphs war is.
It's usually like I think like a difference of a few points here and there, but it'll be similar either way. I mean, he's obviously he's a legend of the game. A Hall of Fame is a little it's tough for me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm always been under the assumption that Hall of Fame is for the best of the best, not for the best of the like of the pretty good. And there's been a lot of times when I've had conversations with people and it's always like this person has to be in, this person has to be in. It's like it has to be best of the best. And for me, it's probably borderline. Like maybe he gets in like the veterans committee will like vet him in or get him in his last year or something. But I think it's tough for me to justify those numbers and I don't know. It's tough. It's tough.
Demetrius, where do you stand?
Yeah, I have to agree with Connor. I was going through and trying to figure out like I was doing some research where he like similar players in his stature if they made it or not. Fred Lynn was a
Just want to
very
ask.
Fred Lynn was a very similar case, very similar numbers. One-time MVP, over 2,000 hits, but a similar average to him, similar All-Star games.
Mm.
Didn't get in by the slightest, but same token, just that level of all very good. But I just think he does not get there, especially after the prime he had in Pittsburgh, and the unfortunate he did have some decline after he was traded a few times.
I think that's what really hurts him is that decline, that steep decline he saw the last couple of years where
Hmm.
sometimes it's the opposite where players they can become compilers and you see like, oh, they increase their stats because of how long they played. I think the opposite really happened with Kutch. If you said like
Hmm.
3, 4 years ago, be like, I think it'd be a better case. Obviously, he'd have less home runs, but the other stats would be a little bit higher, like his, his average and OPS and some other things. But um, I think, I mean, overall, he's still like a fantastic player and just a legend in Pittsburgh. And he played well for the Phillies too for a couple years. So
Hmm.
Hmm.
even
Yeah.
in his age, but he's a legend.
Tom, where do you stand on it?
I mean, if you're a Pirates fan, obviously, like you want nothing more than for him to be in the Hall of Fame. Like I think that's obvious. That's like a Phillies fan saying like I want Chase Utley to be in the Hall of Fame. Like don't know if it's going to happen, which it
It's gonna
probably
happen.
won't. But like I would nothing more than for him to be in it.
Good
But
comparison. So,
yeah, I just
Hmm.
don't think like he just isn't quite there yet.
Mm.
yeah.
Emotionally, he brings a lot to them. Honestly, he's a great dude
Yeah.
on and off the field. Like what he does, like Hall of Fame for like a great guy and a great baseball player and great for the game. Absolutely, but we're
Mhm.
not. People don't get the Hall of Fame for being great people to the game.
Yeah.
Sadly,
I
Yeah.
think I think his case is very borderline. And I do think being on all those different teams in like the middle of his career hurts him a lot. I feel like if he was a Pirate for life, he has a much better chance of getting in. Um,
fair.
Jim Rice,
Yeah.
for example, has similar stats to McCutchen, 82 more home runs, yes, but very similar player. And Fred Lynn was also a very similar player, of course. You were right on that.
Yeah. Good chat with that one.
Thank you.
Same thing, one MVP.
Hmm.
And I just think being on multiple teams, especially that carousel he was on,
Yeah.
San Francisco, New York, Philly, Milwaukee, finally back to Pittsburgh, which is awesome that he's going to get to
Hmm.
retire there.
See ya.
But yeah, it stinks that he didn't get to spend his whole career with Pittsburgh. And I think that's one of the main reasons why Joe Mauer is going in because his whole career is with the Twins.
Yeah,
That really
that's a
helps
good
the
point.
player a lot.
Yeah.
It may seem like something that is like, yeah, it wouldn't affect the player because it's like that's not their stats. It's not their like. I mean, it's just completely a legacy thing where you stay with one team. You showed you're loyal to that fan base through thick and thin. Like because Milwaukee, excuse me, Minnesota had some bad years with Joe Mauer, some bad years, and he stuck it out. And I think that's and also Joe Mauer's a catcher, so like it's not a primarily a batting position where you look for his hitting stats to be inflated or whatever. But and
Right.
that's another thing with Kutch. He is a corner outfielder and center fielder, and that's a premium. Like you need to be a big bat there.
Mhm.
Obviously, his fielding was really good for a while. But that's where you need to see some increase in like the power statistics there, being a corner outfielder for the last few years and it's being an outfielder in general.
Right.
One thing to add, I was gonna say, I remember the kind of not really say outrage, but like people were just not really most happy when Harold Baines got in.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And you look at his stats compared to Kutch. Baines won, what is this? He never won MVP, but he had 2,800 hits,
Yeah.
384 home runs,
Mhm.
and just average of 289.
So, yeah.
Just
So there is some little bit more inflation there than you would see with McCutch. So I
yeah.
mean, it's arguable, but I mean Harold Baines is like really close, like, near and dear to our McDaniel hearts, man. His son played at McDaniel like back.
Oh, that's sad to hear that.
Yeah. The
Maryland
thing with
legend.
Harold Baines is that's like the very clear argument of compiler,
Yeah,
very
Mhm.
exactly.
good for a very long time, which is obviously very valuable versus peak. And what
Yeah.
do you value more?
Yeah,
So
and
that's
that's why I
great.
think I was watching a podcast a couple years ago, and this is kind of where I base some of my Hall of Fame like arguments after. And he said he's a voter, and he basically was like, I look for 5 to 6 seasons of like Hall of Fame numbers, where you have to look position by position, you have to look at certain statistics, and they need to be within a certain range. And if they're in that range, then knock them in. And I just don't see 5 to 6 seasons, to be fair, of Hall of Fame numbers from him. As much as I love Kutch, I think
Oh
he's one of
yeah.
my favorite players of all time, and I'd love
Absolutely.
to see him in the Hall of Fame. But it's sad. I just don't think he has
Touch
enough.
with dreads is iconic, dude.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah,
Hmm.
you're right. You're right.
He had some drip, man. He had some drip.
Yeah, he did in his prime. I mean, he
Yeah.
still does. He's still
He still
swag.
does. Did
Oh,
you
he's still
guys see
exciting.
the person who caught his 300 home run was a Pirates fan, father, son,
Oh
Awesome.
I
yeah,
and
did see that.
the video after the game was sick because he like ran up and hugged the kid
yeah.
who got the ball, and I was like, that's just so sick. Like,
Awesome.
just
Yeah, like
shows,
great guy, dude. Great
yeah.
guy.
I wish there was a Hall of Fame for great dudes, man. There'd be a lot of good guys in there.
Hall of dudes.
Last
There
point
should be.
about
We should start that up. We should start that up.
Not Scott Rowland.
Not Scott Rowland. No, 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 no.
last point about this Hall of Fame discussion is back to my point about playing on one team and how that helps boost your argument.
Yeah.
Besides the PED stuff with Gary Sheffield, he played on so many teams, and that
Hmm.
really destroyed his Hall of Fame case, in my opinion, because he's seen as a mercenary,
Yeah. He's a hired gun.
Yeah.
hired gun. Definitely never helped his Hall of Fame case. It's to
Yeah.
me,
I was gonna say, I was looking at his stats recently. His like tail end of his career, he was disgusting.
yeah,
It's
he's
hard to
still
put up
really,
numbers consistently that way, though. I feel like to be on so many different teams.
yeah,
Yeah, he was second and third in MVP votings in 2003, 2004, and he was 34 years old. It's
He
three
hit
straight
some
silver
pop.
sluggers at the end of that year.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, you're right.
You
It's
would
that
think that like at that point, like where you are that hired gun and he delivered year after year, like maybe he gets consideration.
I don't know. I think he's
I don't know.
gonna be tough for him
What was
with
his
the steroid
percentage?
accusations. But let's move on to our next topic. And that is about the Braves. So we're, I don't know, about a year and a half removed from the trade that involved William Contreras, Esteury Ruiz,
Mm.
and Sean Murphy. And my question is, how do you think the Braves feel now about that trade?
I mean, being like half an A's fan too, like I still think they got the better of that deal. I mean, Sean Murphy, like, and when he was playing last year, he was one of the better power hitting
Yeah.
catchers in the league. He's never hit for great average. He's not going to, but he's a great fielder. He's good behind the dish. I'm not looking at his like percentages of like what's it called, the frame rates or whatever, but from what I know, like he's good at keeping runners at bay and all that. And the A's, I know the A's miss him, but he's been a great catcher for them when he's healthy. Obviously, he's had issues with his health. And it doesn't hurt him because they have Travis d'Arnaud behind him, who's another top.
Legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, you show
And then
Travis right now.
Esteury's had put up some decent numbers this year, and last year he was okay, but yeah, I don't think he would be playing for them. As much as I love Esty, but I think I still
No,
want that trade.
I I agree with that. I just remember being a little shocked when they did it. I remember the fact that because I remember he had a really good year that year before they traded him, so I was kind of surprised at the time. I don't really think they would regret it at this point. I mean, obviously you can't control injuries,
Mm,
but I still think the fact that William is putting up disgusting number this year. I know that he's just right now he's hitting 350 with 4 home runs, 17 RBIs. Like I mentioned, catching percentage too.
yeah.
Catching standpoint is not a position where you always see hits like that. So
Yeah.
I think at that notion, they are seeing how well he's doing. But Sean Murphy put up filthy numbers last year, was an all-star, and it's just hard to just disregard that.
If you're talking about just this season, then yeah, I think they would regret it because William Contreras is ripping the
Yeah.
cover off the baseball right now.
Hmm.
Absolutely ripping the cover off it. And I mean, yeah, he's a good hitter, but like I think there's like a little difference there. I think Murphy might be a little bit better of a catcher than Contreras is. I might have that wrong, but from what I've seen, I think it's like that's how it is, and Contreras is more of a hitter. But I mean, they're pretty comparable in that way.
I'm pretty sure that when the Braves made that trade, it was because of William Contreras' deficiencies behind the plate.
Yeah.
But he is not that catcher anymore. He's very much improved defensively to the point where he's actually a plus defensive catcher.
Is he really?
So
You have access to Sean Murphy's. I mean, everyone has access to it, but I just don't have it up at the moment. I'm just not sure.
I'm getting it up right now. Actually, I'm curious.
I know like I watched a lot of Sean Murphy in Oakland. I mean, he was always pretty solid behind the dish, but
he's
I know.
He
good.
does a good job back there.
Yeah.
He does a
So I
solid
think
job.
they probably had that in mind. It's like we already have d'Arnaud. Like, do we need another? We need a catcher that is going to be consistent behind the plate. And at that time, like that's what they needed. And
Darno's old too.
d'Arnaud's up to 35, but when they
As
made
a
the
catcher.
yeah,
Tom,
so
what do you think? You're the catcher. You were the
yeah,
catcher.
there you go.
Who do I think's better?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think the Braves are thinking now, like looking back at that deal?
I think they're happy with it. I mean, you always want a power hitting catcher, and especially one that can do it over. Like he's not obviously not going to play 162, but you split that in half. He plays 80, give or take, 90 games.
Hmm.
And honestly, if you're Sean Murphy, like how much more does he have left in this contract? Because that probably depend. That'll decide how many games he's going to play during the year.
I think they extended him.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he catches 80, 90 games a year, and he's still putting up that many numbers with that many less at bats compared to the rest of the team. Like that's pretty damn good. Nothing against Contreras because obviously like he's improved and everything, but he Contreras is not as consistent in my opinion. I think if I had to pick between the two, I'd take in Sean Murphy personally.
Interesting.
Contreras might be a better thrower, but Sean Murphy's better behind the dish.
It also is like a lot to do with well, not really calling games as much as they used to, but having that
Pitch count.
that relation exactly having that relationship with pitching too, with pitchers too, and I think he's really built up that rapport in Atlanta as they had a lot of success since he's gotten there. So
They also have a lot of English speaking pitchers, starting pitchers
yeah,
too, which
that helps.
helps.
Yeah.
Me personally, I think the Braves do look at this trade and regret it a little bit because of the age difference and the fact that William Contreras
Interesting take.
better. William Contreras has improved every single year he's been in the major leagues. And the other thing about him is that he has a little bit more of this fuck you in him. He is
No, he's fiery.
he's a fiery
Yeah.
kid. Like I remember hating him when he was on the Braves because of his attitude and the fact that he had Narco as his walk-up song for
Yeah, I forgot about
He's
that.
got he's got that about him, and that's a good point.
Chip.
Last year in the playoffs, or last 2 years in the playoffs, I guess. I don't know exactly the numbers off the top of my head that Sean Murphy had, but he did not hit very well against the
No, he
Phillies.
didn't.
When
Mhm.
he came up to the plate, and it almost seemed like he's gonna be an out. Like this guy, we're gonna strike him out. He's gonna double play.
Yeah.
Every time he came up, he just had that aura about him. I don't know what it is, and I think you're right about that. Actually, now that I think about it, Contreras comes up, like he's like his dick's already been there for 2 minutes. Like he's walking up, like he's
Ah,
not out of the ball. So and that's just like what he brings off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
He's got aura.
big swinging dick.
Got aura.
exactly, yeah.
Um, So we have about 8 more minutes left in our conversation tonight. We have a couple things that we could cover in those last 8 minutes. So do we want to talk about Jack Leiter making his debut tomorrow? Do we want to talk about Christian Yelich, or do we want to talk about the latest Dodgers versus Padres beef?
Let's cover Leiter real quick, and then we'll jump back to the other ones.
And then show me the beef.
Yeah, I'm with you, Tom.
Where's the beef?
So 7 more minutes. All right, let's cover
On the beef.
what happened. What's going on with Jack Leiter tomorrow? He makes his debut. Where are you guys sitting with him?
I think it's sick.
I think
I
it's
think I think it's dope the fact that he got a shot after his poor
Hey, Jersey guy, Tom.
performances. Jersey boy, he's had a little weird minor league career. He never really found form in the minors. This year he finally started to moderately, 3 games at a 3.70 ERA with 25 strikeouts. But I think the Rangers said we're still kind of in that pitching conundrum. We need an arm right now. Let's get this young spark. What they've been using their young sparks recently. But it's kind of sick. Another guy from the 2021 draft class that is now in the MLB. He was the second overall pick behind Henry Davis, which is also another story we'll get to at some point. But high school teammate of Anthony Volpe.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, I saw that picture the other day.
It's just, I think it's cool. I think he's going to shove. I don't know. I have high hopes for him.
I agree with you. I think it only helps both sides. I think he's you could see when he played for Vanderbilt, he had like that big game aura about
He's
him.
electric at Vanderbilt, dude.
He was awesome. He was incredible. He had that one-two punch with him and Rocker was incredible. I used to watch
That was crazy time. Holy shit.
That team was.
They were nasty.
Sure.
But
Sure.
he was like their big game guy, and like Rocker might have had like more electric stuff at the time, but Leiter came out in the big like those big games, and he always seemed to come up and just dominate. And I think he'll do that again. I think he's got the stuff. He's got that upper 90s fastball. He's got a good slider, and I don't know like what his pluses are. I know they give him like the stuff plus or whatever. I'm sure I can find it quickly, but from what I saw in college, I think this is probably something he's waiting for. Like some guys, like they want to be at the top, like the top of the spotlight. They want to be that guy, and I think those would be only a good thing for both parties.
I agree. I think honestly, no, I don't really agree that much. I think he's gonna shit the bed. To be completely honest, I think he's gonna get his tits rocked. He'll maybe go like 3 innings, like 5, 6 earned, like 1 or 2 walks, and like 2 or 3 Ks or something.
Yeah,
like that's my prediction.
He did have control issues in the minors.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And like a 3.7, that doesn't impress me to bring him straight up to the
No.
bigs. Like I
mean, it's
you know what I
better
mean?
than his 8 ERA last year he had in AAA. So
That's
Some of
what
it
I mean.
double
I want
too.
nothing but the best for this kid. I hope he fucking lights it up, shoves 6 innings, 5, 6 innings plus, like 8 Ks, like 2 walks. Like I hope he shoves it. But I just really think he's gonna get absolutely rocked.
I was gonna say a little notion on that though. I think the Tigers are a good opponent for him to go first off. I think
Very
it's
true.
better than the Astros, better than I don't know the Royals even.
Dude, Jordan Alvarez with that kid for breakfast.
Oh my gosh, dude. Him and Tucker.
God. Yeah.
That's kind of scary.
I don't know. I feel like he's gonna be okay. I don't think he's gonna be anything special right off the bat, but he's got the stuff. He just needs to command it better, and he's got the highest whiff rate in the minors right now, or at least at the level he's at. So I'm excited to see him, but I'm also like, all right, this kid's had his issues, and he's figured them out.
You just can't give up on a number 2 overall pick this quick. That's my
That's
take.
facts.
They could pop up again, so we'll see.
Don't let me down, Lighty.
Let's get back to the beef real quick.
Where's the beef?
Dodgers Padres this over the weekend. Will Smith called Jerickson Profar irrelevant.
Yeah.
You were hot about this, Will. You were hot. Oh, you start us off, Will. You were hot about
Yeah, let's
this.
hear this, Will.
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of rude. I mean, granted, Profar reacted in a way that was pretty ridiculous at a ball.
Yeah, I don't
wasn't
agree
really
with
near
that.
him.
Yeah,
They're not trying to hit him with that
Right.
situation.
They're not trying to hit him, but at the same time, Will Smith, you're calling a guy who has 10 years of service time irrelevant.
Yeah.
is pretty disrespectful. Like only 10% of big league players get the 10 years of service time. So obviously Profar is doing something right. Like he's not an all-star. He didn't live up to his hype. He was a #1 prospect in baseball, but disrespectful. And I'm glad Profar hit that double to win that game for them.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that was a nuke too. I thought it was going out.
Yeah.
He
I did.
I don't know if you guys listened to his quotes on Sunday Night Baseball because I was listening to him when I was driving, and he was like, "Yeah, it was just miscommunication, pretty much." I was like, "Yeah, you kind of overreacted when the young kid wasn't even just he didn't throw your head; he was just trying to brush you back a little bit. Like it wasn't even like a
I think it was a
situation
missed
where."
spot. It was just a complete missed
Yeah,
spot. Like,
even
It was
that though, even it wasn't even just a brush back, but yeah, he was
yeah.
also he's a young pitcher too. He's not like a guy who's been in the league forever. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, dumb.
Yeah, intentionally throwing at guys is something we don't see as much as we used to. Like I remember growing up, like anytime anything was said or anyone felt in any way like disrespected, you knew it was coming. But now it's more like people are thinking about like, oh well, what if he gets thrown out? Like I need to save some arms. Like that's usually a lot of times that's in the back of the coach's head.
Mhm.
But then there are the cases where there's a big rivalry, like this one is, where you see them like this. It'd probably be this would be one of the rivalries where I would expect it to happen.
yeah,
I love.
Dodgers fans will swear to you it's not a rivalry, though.
Was that?
Dodgers fans will swear to you it's not a
it
rivalry.
is though.
Tell me about the
It's like
2020.
Yankees. It's like Yankees Mets. Like
NLDS.
that's not a rivalry, but it is.
Yeah, show me the 2022
I
NLDS.
was gonna say NLDS from the Padres absolutely shoved it
Yeah,
down Dodgers. I mean, they beefed for a while. I remember Andy Green and Dave Roberts going after it years ago, shoving
yeah.
each other behind home plate. Like
Oh, that's crazy.
I love it, man.
they
Reminded me
they
a little bit of those early 2000s Red Sox Yankees rivalries. A little bit, not as volatile, but a little bit,
Okay, yeah, a little bit,
a little bit.
a little
I
bit.
mean, this is what I like to see though in baseball. Like,
yeah.
That was great for the game.
I think it's good for the game. It brings in clicks. It brings people to
Yeah,
watch these games. Like,
I love the fact they're using those Sunday Night Baseball games. Keep those on our
yeah,
screens. Make sure we watch those games because must see TV right there.
exactly,
guys.
exactly.
So I guess that really brings it to the end of the night. I think we did a good job covering the topics of the day. So yeah, good stuff, boys. So wrap it up.
Ding dong.